It is 8:20, Big 550 KTRS, Hall of Fame, well, I should say Super Bowl winning coach for the St. Louis Rams, Dick Vermeil, joins us via phone. Good morning, Dick Vermeil. Thank you for joining us.
Good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing fantastic, and thanks for spending a couple minutes with us. And when we heard that Sam Bradford went down, everybody immediately thought Trent Green, Kurt Warner, and Dick Vermeil. Is that what you thought when you first heard the news?
It's a parallel I wish they weren't going through, I'll tell you that.
Take us back 15 years ago. When you first heard Trent Green went down, you must have thought, in all seriousness, even though you kept a good upper lip, that the season was in serious trouble.
Well, immediately on the field, when I saw him go down and went out there and saw him and knew what happened, I felt that way. Because I was overpowered by emotion, and had no time to think about it and evaluate the situation. By the middle of the next day, I didn't feel that way anymore. I got over the shock and got over looking in the eyes of the players that were so disappointed and emotionally upset. And we started thinking clearly and recognized that we still were going to be a good football team. We were going to go with Kurt Warner, and we believed because of his performance on the practice field and all that kind of stuff that we could continue to be a good team. We didn't think we could be a Super Bowl team, but I was very confident we'd be a good team.
Did you make any phone calls and inquire about any other quarterbacks?
Yeah, we did, because Mike White had been with the Raiders, and he knew some people, and we checked on a couple guys just to inquire, and nothing serious. But we nosed around just a little bit because, you're going to need three quarterbacks through the season. So we knew we needed to get one. But whether it was going to be a guy to come in and be a starter or not, chances are we weren't going to be able to do that.
Yeah. You talked to Jeff Fisher at all about this situation?
No.
Yeah.
I have not.
So when Kurt Warner came on the field and he starts throwing 3 touchdown passes that first game, I mean, nobody expected that.
No, I had a hunch he was going to be a good player, but my hunch didn't take me into the category of a Hall of Famer, believe me.
How do you explain Kurt Warner? I mean, how he goes undrafted.
Easy to explain.
Yeah.
Since I've retired, I've had time to do a lot of reading, and I read a lot of military books, all the Navy SEAL books and the Medal of Honor books. There are certain people in our society would put under pressure, excel way beyond even their own expectations, and you don't know who they are. You just don't know who they are. You have to be lucky to find out he's on your squad or he's in your platoon somewhere in a battlefield. You just don't know who those guys are, and Kurt Warner was one of those guys. He was better in the game than he was at any other time, and he just kept getting better, and he was never overwhelmed by the pressures or overwhelmed by the all of a sudden stardom. He just almost so refreshing, naive, and keeping everything in proper perspective. And Mike Martz and Al Saunders and Hannafin and John Ramsdale and all Wilbert Montgomery, all those offensive coaches just did a wonderful job with him. Is
Kurt Warner someone that you still keep in contact with?
Oh, you bet. Boy, I'm not going to let him out of my life.
What advice do you have for Sean Hill going forward in this situation?
Well, Sean Hill's credentials coming into this situation are far better than Kurt's were at the same time, okay? But here's a kid that in 2 specific seasons has played a lot of football and thrown over 60% complete. His touchdown to quarterback interception ratio is very good. His overall quarterback efficiency in his career is 86 or 85.9. That's a playoff level. And I would just encourage him to be what he's been and try to be a little better. Now he's got more responsibility. But every time he's been given responsibility as a starter, he's done a pretty good job. He really has. And he's been in Detroit. He was at San Francisco when San Francisco was losing. This is the first time he's going to be surrounded by a pretty good football team, and maybe a very good football team. and I expect him to play at a level beyond what he's been able to play in the past.
Yeah. You know, the NFL, people talk about it being a quarterback league, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, but teams also win by having a quarterback that can just sort of manage the game.
No question. Don't turn the ball over. Help your other players do what they have the ability to do. And the big thing, though, in the big games against good teams, your quarterback's got to get the ball in the hands of the receivers downfield.
Yeah.
You can run a lot and say, boy, we can play defense, you can run, and what happens, you lose by 3, you lose by 2, you lose by 6. You still have to score points by getting the ball in the hands of gifted people downfield. And Sean has proved he could do that. In fact, I was surprised when I pulled up his information on the computer when this all happened and evaluated him, and I said, by gosh, you know, they signed a guy that can get it done. Good job by Jeff Fisher and staff.
Yeah. How are the grapes growing?
Well, you know, we just went through the earthquake, and we lost about 20 cases of wine, and we lost some chandelier, and we lost a few cracks and stuff. But I think we'll be okay. Our neighboring businesses in the Napa residence, our tasting room in Napa, are a little shaky right now. We're waiting to find out when we can open our doors again. But it was tough. But the grapes themselves, I think, are in pretty good shape. I think the crop is down a little bit. The quality will be good. Our last 2 vintages, the 2012 and 2013 vintages, are by far our best vintages. In fact, I call them our playoff teams, you know.
Well, I guess the question is, with 20 cases of wine going down, do you have the Kurt Warner of wines on the bench there?
Well, we do. We have 2 real good kids running our tasting room in Napa. Of course, our Calistoga tasting room was not affected. I'm heading out there tomorrow to sort of take a look at everything that's going on and spend a couple weeks driving the tractor in the vineyard. So,
last question for you, Dick Vermeil, and that is about the movie Invincible. Couldn't you do something about Greg Kinnear's hair in that picture? I mean, that was some bad hair.
Maybe that's what I had. I can't even remember that far back. I don't know.
Fair enough.
I've only seen the movie one time, and I've had a lot of people tell me he did a great job, and I've had a lot of players tell me he wasn't nearly as ornery as I was.
Fair enough. Dick Vermeil, head coach of the Super Bowl winning St. Louis Rams all those many years ago. Dick, thank you for checking in. Be safe, and we'll talk to you down the road.
Take care, buddy. Thank you.
You got it. There you go, Dick Vermeil. When it's all said and done, he can't even explain what happened.
Yeah.
He said that he was a leader, and no one knew he was a leader until he got on the field.
And I think that's the thing with Sean
Hill.
I think that, you know, when he gets out there, we got to have more faith in the guy.
I agree. Or all these experts who draft and poke and prod and run and test and, 50-yard dash and 5-yard run and 10-yard jump. And when it's all said and done, you have no idea what's between the ears.
Exactly.
And there's no way to test for it.
Yep.
Interesting. 8:30.